name is Courtney Amundsen, and I offer private channeled readings to help you to connect with your soul and your divine purpose. You see, it's so beautiful because what I'm offering is to help you to step into your empowerment and your inner teacher, your inner divinity. And this is such a beautiful experience because it's coming home to your true self. It's unveiling what already is you. And in this place, you can live in guidance, you can live in freedom, you can live in your authenticity. So if this calls to you, you can book a reading with me at morechoice.com/Courtney. So thank you so much, and I hope that you join me soon.
Broadcasting from the UK and across the world online. You're now watching The Moore Show, and I'm your host, Kevin Moore. For the next hour, I'll be covering subjects that will open up your mind and provide you with information you may have never heard before. Now on today's show, I'm about to be joined by my guest, Ann Tucker. Now Ann is an effective and recognised speaker who has addressed audiences around the world on the topics of leadership, personal transformation, decision making, and psychology of doubt. Now she is the founder of Wisdom Soup, an online social learning community that speeds up serendipity by connecting people with similar interests in spirituality and personal growth. Ann Tucker, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
It's great to have you on, it really is. So just for those who don't know too much about yourself, I included in that as well. Just very, very briefly, if you could just sum up what you do and why you do it.
All right. So historically, I have been an executive coach working with technology leaders. I left that, stepped away from that about 6 months ago. And the purpose of that is that during my time as an executive coach, I was working around this concept of decision making. That was always my access point in. I started my career as a negotiator, and it just was the thing that sort of was always my perspective, was always looking at people, how people think and make choices. Decisions being sort of like the prism that focuses all of our thoughts, all of our energy. So that was always my area. That led me to the development of this book called Undoubtedly Awesome, that's focused on how we think, how we solve problems, essentially how we're creative in the world, how that spirit, that spark comes through us. And about 6 months ago, I decided to step away totally from executive coaching, and I began a company called Wisdom Soup, which is an online social learning community for spirituality and personal growth.
Yeah, I mean, so sort of what sort of size audiences would you stand up to in some cases?
Oh, sure. I mean, all sizes. A large portion of my work was individual coaching and working with executive teams, but then I sometimes would speak to entire companies, and these would be very large companies, so audiences of 500 people, and then those would be then broadcast out to the entire organization. So,
okay. If you don't mind me asking, what made you the expert?
Depending on what I was speaking to at the time. But what's interesting about this work, about the way I was looking at things, was a lot of us think that as we learn about ourselves, we are our first model for understanding how the world works. And we assume that everybody is like us. We assume that everybody thinks like us. Everybody tries to solve the problems that they want to solve, create what they want to create from the same perspective. But it's when you start to understand that your way of doing things, your way of coming at it is unique, and it gives you particular gifts, and you start to understand that other people come at it differently. So a lot of times I'd be brought in because there would be conflicts in an organization, there'd be conflicts within a team, and critical people who could not get along. And once they understood that they weren't deliberately withholding information and they weren't deliberately being micromanaging, that they each had a different way of expressing their gifts in the world. And once they saw what that was, they had a different way of thinking, a different way of solving problems, it dissolved those sort of conflicts.
Right.
So those kinds of issues would be bringing me forward.
Right. Okay. Did it burn you out? Do you think? Think that's one reason why you got into doing this book? Was there another way, basically, to do your work that was less logical and more in balance with sort of the spiritual side and a logical side, rather than just all logical?
Oh, you bet. I mean, when I was working with big companies, I knew in my heart that all of this was about people's. This is about basically your soul type. It's about a soul type that you bring with you into this incarnation, and that you probably express the exact same soul type in every incarnation you've ever had. But I can't say that. I can't say the word soul. I can't say the word spirit in a corporate context. I would call it decision style. And I would keep it, and it was still useful. I was still making an impact, but I really wanted to take it to that next step. And my own interests lie much more around spirituality. So I really felt called to step away to a place where I felt like I could be much freer and take it further.
Do you feel that maybe, you'll get back into public speaking, but in a different direction, more in alignment with where this book's gone as well?
You bet. Yeah, for sure. And I already have, in terms of the what I'm doing now. It's really fun to sort of take the gloves off and to be able to say what I really think about what I've learned and what it means.
I think that's so much more important. I think, personally, as a public speaker, if you're going to do it, and I'm kind of toying with the idea a little bit, a spiritual motivational speaker, is you've got to have transparency. You've got to have had some life behind you. And really, I think that the right people will come to you for what you're going to do.
Right.
The people that resonate with you, that need your help.
Yeah.
So are you offering sort of one-to-ones right now? I mean, I know we've barely got into the interview here, but is that something that you're doing?
I don't know. What I'm doing right now is so the book is out, and that has in there is a great introduction into this whole concept of understanding your soul type, and how really it's a very fast way. In 1 hour, your self-understanding can just completely open up something. It's like being blind one moment and seeing it the next, and it's not in a small way. It's something that you use all the time during your day, and you'll start noticing when you're going down a path that's going to end up working for you or where you're not. It's like you're starting to see yourself clearly. So the book offers that, but my focus really at this point is on launching Wisdom Soup, which to me is going to be the focus of the rest of my career.
Okay, and just remind us what Wisdom Soup is as well, and the website for it.
Yeah, so it's wisdomsoup.com, and the idea of Wisdom Soup, I'm starting out with a 5-step process to speed up serendipity. And the idea is that over a period of 12 months, I'm leading a group through an experience that's going to take them from everything in the beginning, from starting to align their energy, set their intentions, and then starting all the way through to working through their purpose. And finally, in month 12, they're connecting to their intuition. So it's taking that sort of personal growth process that people normally do on their own, but we spend so much time trying to figure out what to do. The area is so ambiguous and so unclear. There's so many teachers, there's so many methodologies. We spend a lot of time just trying to figure out where to start. If you Google law of attraction, you will literally find like 8 million hits. So my idea is to provide some structure so that you can focus on doing the work and spend less time worrying about what to do.
Hi guys, my name's Kevin Moore and I'm the host of The Moore Show. Now it's my purpose, my passion, my mission to help you guys become your greatest version. Now you might be looking to find answers on love, connecting with your life's purpose, reuniting with a loved one on the other side, discovering your past lives, or just helping you make sense in finding your direction. Now, as a multi-dimensional channel, I can connect with higher aspects of yourself to help you in this present moment to become your best version and live your most empowered life. Now you can book myself for a reading by going to tmspsychics.com/Kevin, or you can get a reading from one of my many gifted team of readers. The More Show Psychics, helping you transform your present moment to the most loving and happiest it can be. Now I also offer a full money back guarantee, so what have you got to lose? Empower your life today.
The More Show connects personal development, metaphysics and consciousness tools for transformation, empowerment and awakening. Please support this independent show so Kevin can continue to bring you the most inspiring and alternative interviews and videos. Go to www.themoreshow.com/donate. You can also support The More Show through Patreon by going to www.patreon.com/themoreshow. Or you can make a quick and easy donation from PayPal using paypal@themoreshow.com.
But do you think people care about what to do because they're so desperate to get something to work that they're searching all sorts of ways? And you're right, it gets very confusing for people. And okay, so let's just stay with this thread right now because this is a big part of your work as well. So really, I suppose some people may say, well, look, intuitively, I'll go with what feels right. Within these steps, or maybe they'll say, well, look, I'll study a few and what feels right, maybe not even intuitive, but what's maybe more logical, I'll take some of the more logical things that I think I can apply, I'll then go use those logical parts as well and then see if they actually work. And I'm guessing you've tested your method as well yourself.
Yes. Yeah, and I'm not the teachers that are going to be featured on Wisdom Soup. I'll do one section. I do the section that's around doubt and confidence, sort of the mental game aspect. I'll cover that much. But each month, bringing in a different teacher, a different expert who's going to be focusing on the areas of for that month. So it really is ideas. I'm trying to help people through really an incredible process that happened for myself. So I had let's call it an awakening. I remember sitting with my husband over coffee a couple of years ago, about 2 years ago, and I had really been struggling. It was this whole decision to leave coaching and to start something else, because coaching has been really successful for me. It's been a great job, and it's a job that a lot of people would love to have. So I had a lot of inner conflict about feeling bad about not wanting something that was objectively a desirable thing. And I just told him I had that, what felt like, I described it like a hairball, like this horrible thing I had to figure out, the sense that there was something else I was supposed to be doing and that I felt blocked in some way. And so he asked me, what at the time was a fantastic question. It was, well, if you were coaching you, what would you do? And it was amazing how turning it around like that allowed me to get out of my own way and to really look at it and say, okay, how am I going to solve this problem? So I said, okay, if it was me coaching me, I would lay out a plan for the year that would essentially fast track my process, fast track my growth. And then I started digging in, trying to figure out where can I get the information for this? How can I start? And that's when I discovered how crazy the field is, how it's so hard. We have told ourselves that the idea is to wait to be guided, right? That you're supposed to wait for your own intuition, wait to be guided from one thing to the next. So we end up acting a lot like hermit crabs, where you've got a shell and you find a teacher and you sort of bumble into that shell and then you wander along until you find another teacher and you swap and you go onto that one. But it's really inefficient and it doesn't have to be that way. And my thought is that if we were meant to be guided every single step, well, we would have come with a set of instructions, right? They wouldn't wait for us to just listen here. The idea, I think, is that we need to plan our own way and then the universe can work through you. Once you have a plan, you need to start with a plan. Then the universe can help you along the path that you choose. This is a free will universe, right? Free will planet.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So when you say plan, you're talking about those things that you'd like to. Are you talking about living your purpose in that plan? Are you talking about a plan where, it's things that you want to achieve or want to have? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that type of plan?
No, I'm talking about a plan for your own spiritual progress. So you liken it to the steps that a pilot might take to get a plane ready for flight. And this is, I would consider this to be sort of a spirituality 101, a fast track boot camp. How can you get to a place where you're well on your way in a condensed period of time? And So with the goal being at the end that you want to feel that sense of connection. You want to be getting that daily guidance, intuitive hits where you're on purpose, you're on track, you know your intentions. It's all of that, trying to get to that place where you feel like you're on track and knowing what you want to do with your life. And to get there, if you think about the way a pilot flies a plane, so step one would be the pilot needs to clear a path and connect and with air traffic control, right? So my equivalent would be saying, okay, you need to get your energetic path cleared. We need to start working on clearing blocks, bringing in energy healers, right? The next step is what is your flight plan? Well, you need to set your intentions. That's going to be setting your flight plan. Then we're going to go step from there into, if you were a pilot, it would be getting everybody in their seats and facing forward with their seatbelts on. Well, I'm talking about getting all your thoughts aligned, your subconscious and your conscious facing in the same direction. So we're going to be looking at your beliefs, going into that, the doubt, confidence, all these things, everything you need to do to get all of your mental processes focused in the same direction. And then you go into reading instruments, which would be looking at astrology, looking at your dreams, starting to look at all the information you have available to you to glean your life purpose, all these types of things. So this takes you in a path.
Yeah. Okay, so where does that fit into the book that you've written then? Undoubtedly awesome. Your own personal roadmap from doubt to flow, because we kind of touched on law of attraction there, that you talked on about that's what this process may be. Then what we're saying there, no, this isn't law of attraction as such. This is your purpose now is to help people awaken to their spiritual, have a spiritual awakening to find their purpose. So and that fits in with your book.
So the book is something that it's part of this the 5-step process I'm going to be laying out, but it's one small piece of it. So the book stands on its own. The book is, when you read the book, what it does for you is it essentially gives you insight into how you think and solve problems, what your soul type is, how that impacts what your gifts are, your essentially how you enter a problem, what benefit that gives, how you can serve others with it, and then also how that makes you more susceptible to doubt. So, and I think it's really critical because doubt, it does, and I say in the book, it's your roadmap from doubt to flow, because anything that's providing that resistance, anything that's holding you back, that's what's pulling you out of flow. Doubt is one of the major culprits. So it is, how is it related to Wisdom Soup? Well, it's incorporated into that year-long process that we're going to be going through in Wisdom Soup, but it's one piece of it. And the book is something that is a reflection of all the learning that I've done through my work over the last decade.
So let's get this right. So I've got it right in my tiny mind. Wisdom Soup. Let's just say what it is again. It's a platform for helping people connect to the true essence of who they really are, so that they can go and live the most empowered present moment that's possible for them by awakening to their true potential and then living their purpose from that awakening experience.
Correct. And it helps them through that process on a step-by-step basis. So going 1 month to the next, with each concept sort of building on the next. So it provides the structure to help that process unfold more quickly. And
this is an online course that they would do through the website.
Yeah, it's not really a course. It's an ongoing website. Exactly.
Yeah. But I mean, how is that monetized? I'm just trying to. Is that it?
Oh, it's a subscription.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So let's just get back to the crux again. I just want to hear what you want to say. What makes this work different to the rest? Or could you answer that a different way, maybe answering it for you, that if you feel pulled to this work, if you resonate with you, which a lot of people will, that's the pull. That's what makes it different. Is it's you.
Is what makes Wisdom Soup different?
What makes it different from any other program out there, or anyone else that's trying to attract the most empowered life for people? I would say the difference is you, but I'll let you answer that.
Yeah, well, certainly there's that, but to me the real difference is that when you're looking at all of the teachers that are out there, I'm not competing with other teachers. I'm embracing other teachers, and I'm bringing other teachers in, and I'm saying each of them are like their own little island. and they all have something valuable to give. But none of them is a complete answer by themselves. And that's the problem that we have, is that each teacher you run into is going to give you something valuable. But when you're finished, you're not sure how it connects to the next thing you need. You don't know how to get from there to the next thing. There's no path. There's only islands. And what I'm trying to do is create the path between the islands, to connect the teachers in a way that makes it so that you're not lost between places. You don't have that lag of, is this really the next place that I'm supposed to go? And what I'm trying to do is make that path more, that's what it's been, speeding up serendipity by allowing things to unfold more quickly.
Yeah, no, I think that's fantastic. I really, really do. And I think embracing the spiritual side into that motivational side that you've had so much experience of, the life coaching, but mixing the spiritual side, and is so important to see it from that perspective. So I think that's also very different as well. Not enough people do that, I don't think. So that and as you say, the examples that you've just given there as well. Okay, well. So again, those coming to you could come because they maybe, well, let's think about this. Maybe there's something that they really, maybe they're going through some sort of growth process where they really need to be, they want to have the best life they can from now on. They've realized that they aren't happy settling at the life they've got right now, and they want something better. They want the best that they can have for themselves. That would definitely allow them to do that. Maybe, they're in a bad place, and they just, they feel that this is a place, a course, or not a course, I know you don't call it that, but a mentoring program, whatever you call it, right? That will help them to break through and get into that purest part of them, that is their soul, in a sense, to let them touch their soul, and to know that all answers lie within, in a sense, for any issues that they were going through.
For sure. There's also, I think about when people first start down this path, it's an incredibly lonely experience, because what's happening is that when you start down this path, you start resonating at a higher frequency, and you fall out of resonance with people who might have been in your life up until that point. Most of the people that I have met who are on this path find that they lose old friendships, that they end up really, it can be a very lonely experience. And part of that is then you meet different teachers and you start with one, but the whole experience is this one of being isolated and trying to find your way in the dark. And I'm trying to help that, both through creating the path, but also through creating community. So the website is set up in such a way that people go through as a group, and then they also, each member has their own journey page where they can get to know each other. People recommend books that have been really important to them, or teachers that they've used or studied with, whatever it becomes. There's forums for every topic that we talk through. So it really becomes a place where you can connect and form a new community for yourself.
Yeah.
So start to feel more supported. So support, honestly, for the users, but also for the teachers that are part of it, who need to be found, but maybe don't want to push their message. They'd rather have people naturally be drawn towards them.
Absolutely. And is your partner, is he quite spiritual? Is he into the same metaphysical subjects, or?
My husband? In a different way. He's actually Quaker. So we have differences, but he's really open. He actually allows me to do energy work on him now. So
That's good. That's good.
Right.
Well, we're all with the right person. Everything is perfect, I do believe, or at all times. Not I was going to say most times, at all times. Everything's the way it's supposed to be, absolutely. Just interesting, that was all. Yeah, okay. So, and well, that's good, because that means you've got the support to make this work, because obviously, it's a big thing that you're doing as well. So good on you. And writing a book is no small feat neither, trust me. So yeah. So okay, well, let's get into the book. Undoubtedly awesome, your own personal roadmap from doubt to flow. So you were saying earlier on there in the interview that how much we do doubt, in a sense. Now, most times we know what it is that we want to do. yet we bury it, don't we? As soon as it comes to us, that aha moment of, oh my God, this is what I really would love to do, the mind switches on, and it's like, no, 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 you can't do that. You're not big enough for that. You're too small for that. You're not good enough for that. And all the other negative things that come into ourselves to. So what I'm trying to say, I suppose, to the question, if I can form one, is when we go with logic, it never leads to happiness. When we go with the emotion of something, how it makes us feel, how much love is there in the feeling that comes from that which we've chosen or that which we're desiring to bring into our reality, that's the indication then. So really, maybe the question is, if something makes us feel happy, that's where we're on track, right?
Well, here's what I would say, and this is interesting. I would agree that when something makes you feel happy, you're on track, because if something makes you feel happy, you're putting all of your energy behind it and you're making it happen. So a big premise behind my book is that thoughts become things, right? What you think, your thoughts are really powerful. So it really is about how are you using that energy? Are you using it effectively or not? And when you're experiencing doubt, you're not. When you have a lot of doubt in what you're in, and these could be in little decisions or big decisions. It can be major life choices. If you're ever leaning out, if you're in a relationship and you're leaning out of it, or work and you're leaning out of it, that's a huge energy leak, and you're not using your thoughts to propel yourself as effectively as you could. You're not creating your life as dynamically as you could. When you feel happy, that's when you really have that energy, but you are essentially making your choices successful. When you're happy, that happy energy is what's creating success for you. So it's an interesting thing, is we really get caught up in this idea that the choices that we make are either inherently good or inherently bad. That as you're trying to pick something, the thing you're picking has some unique quality of itself that's going to make it good or bad. And the truth is that when you're choosing something, if you're choosing between two different things, they're each going to have good things and bad things about them, right? They're going to have some things, there's going to have positive and negatives about them. And what makes the difference as to one is the right one or the wrong one has a lot less to do with the thing that you choose and a whole lot more to do with how you choose it. The process that you use to choose is what determines how happy you are with what the outcome is. So it's actually hugely important to understand and to see your own process, because if you're using it effectively, you're going to be happy, and that's going to make your life go in the direction you want it to.
Well, what is that process that you use to choose them? What is that?
So it's different depending on your soul type. So each soul type has their own specific process that they use, and the process that they use does two things. It enables them to essentially, it's like a chicken and an egg thing. Which comes first? Does your process enable your strength, or does your strength enable your process? But what happens is the specific way that you make your choices then allows you to have a very unique way of creating in the world. So, and we can give it as an example. We can do yours if you want. We can do your soul type, and I can explain your process to you if you'd like.
Yes. And where is this information coming from for you?
It's a really good question, and it unfolded over such a long period of time, and it was really a matter of seeing patterns. So what was happening is I was working with executives, coaching them, and I would be collecting feedback, and I started to notice these patterns emerge, and this was over a period of a decade. But I would start to see, okay, and I would be getting their own impression of themselves, and I would be getting the impression of all the people that worked with them. And I would be hearing about, okay, the complaints started to line up. When I hear about the strength, I hear this same weakness over and over and over again. And I started to group them, and I just started to see patterns. It was I believe, very strongly intuitively led. But then I tested it over and over and over again, and refined it down to the point where I can determine your soul type with just 3 questions.
That's pretty cool. So yes, so you would say it was intuitively led. You probably that material came through you, from you,
yes,
in a sense. Because I've never heard of it before. I mean, and I see the soul types. The process is from the optimizing soul, the learning soul, the efficient soul, the coaching soul, the expressive soul, the experimental soul, the collaborative soul. So this is what makes you unique, is that you've got your own way of helping people and bringing teaching information through.
Yes.
Okay. All right then, my soul type. Look into my soul.
All right. So the questions are really simple, but we'll get to a good answer. So tell me first, in general, do you make your decisions more quickly, and in other words, more impulsively, with more excitement, impatience, urgency than other people around you? Or do you tend to be a little more slow? Are you more thoughtful, more careful, more methodical? Which one applies to you more?
What day would it be normally? I think I do think.
Just
I
think of
think I
it.
do think about them. I think I do think about them. Yeah.
You're more thoughtful. Okay. So then when you're talking to people about what happens in your day, in general, do you tend to give just the facts, details, but more impersonal things, or do you tend to tell the whole story about how you feel, how it affects you personally?
Normally just the facts.
Just the facts. Okay. So then you are what I would call the learning soul type. And what that means is that the thing that's going to motivate you most, that's going to bring you the most joy, is that feeling of mastery, of learning for learning's sake, that you probably find a lot of joy in going very, very deep on subjects. And you might enjoy certain hobbies like music or anything that requires practice, that idea of becoming a true expert at something, and probably have a huge amount of intellectual curiosity. Does that apply to you?
Yes, I think so. I think I could go down that road. Absolutely.
Okay, so what that means in terms of the gift that you're bringing is that in terms of each of the soul types is focused on a different part of the problem. And the way I like to think about it is that if you imagine that that every problem in the world is a seven-sided shape, and each problem, each of those is there's essentially each side has its own door, and each of us has one key in. It fits one of those doors. So each of us has one specific way we like to access the problem. And we can all solve all aspects of a problem individually, but we're particularly good at one way into the problem. So your particular way into the problem would be around figuring out solutions, and it's specifically from the angle of using a logic and analysis. So your thinking is going to be extremely clear-headed. You're going to have a very neutral energy, the most neutral energy of any of the soul types. And that means that you'll be able to stay emotionally detached from the problem longer than any other soul type. So you're going to be more open-minded, more receptive to any ideas. You're going to be willing to take everything in and really thoughtfully consider, which probably makes you great at what you do because you're going to be really open to
Oh, it does. Oh, it does.
landscape changes before you move forward. And this is very unique to your soul type. It's specifically because you have that neutral energy, that gift of being able to stay in a place of ambiguity. Other soul types are driven crazy by ambiguity, but you cope with it really, really well. And so what you'll do is you'll pull back and you'll watch, and you'll wait till something changes until you can see a really clear path forward. And it does make you very strategic. However, you may sometimes feel like opportunities are passing you by, and that may be where that ambiguity comes in, is that sense of, because of withdrawing or because of observing, things may happen, you may miss out on opportunities. Should I have done that? Wish I had done that. Coulda, shoulda, woulda. Does that make sense?
Yes. No, it absolutely does. It absolutely does. And thank you for that. That's pretty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're very welcome.
No, you're right there. And I think this leads in perfectly then to what you were just saying there. With a lot of people, not just myself, as you've said, we're dealing with fear and anxiety, because there's a lot of gifted people, and I've come across them, where anxiety just well, it stops them in their tracks.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And here's the thing is that depending on your soul type, depending on how you access the problem, that feeling of anxiety and that feeling of doubt is going to affect you in a different place. So for some soul types, it's on the very beginning of the problem. They're going to get really, really caught up in that stage of comparison where they're trying to figure out which option to choose, and they won't be able to discern which one they like better. And for other soul types, it's on the very end, actually, after they think they've made the choice. That's where they really get affected by doubt, where they start to second guess themselves, and they're constantly leaning out of their decisions, and they feel dissatisfied with their decisions. And it's you can see, depending on your soul type, which one of these is going to be your biggest weakness. And there's things you can do to make it easier. And what's really interesting is once you see it, once you know how that happens for you, because most of the time your decision process works really well for you, right? Most of the time you make great decisions and you feel great about them. Once in a while, it doesn't. And what's interesting is when you understand where your process goes wrong, you can spot it. You'll see yourself going down that path. You'll start noticing, oh, I'm wandering off the reservation. I'm heading towards the path that's going to lead me to doubt. And you can tweak it. You can change it and make it so that that doesn't happen. You get back on track.
And you talk about it in your book as well. And again, to find your decision process, to find your soul type, can people just go onto your website to do that, or would they have to have a one-to-one with you to sort of?
No, it's actually there's on the website that's the same name as the book, undoubtedlyawesome.com. There's a free survey they can take, and it's 3 questions, but it's done as a flowchart. So the questions are going to be different depending on how you answer the questions. But 3 questions, and it'll tell you your soul type. It'll give you a brief definition and then some information that's different from what's in the book. So even if you have the book, it's still fun to go on the website and take the survey.
Right, and again, don't let doubt destroy the answers as well, because you may say, well, sometimes I feel like this, and sometimes I am like that. Just go with what the first answer that comes to you.
Absolutely, especially because so the way that I people tend to evolve is that we're born with one soul type, with our native soul type, and that's our natural way of expressing our creative gift in the world, our natural way of thinking and solving problems. But depending on how your life progresses, what happens, you're going to develop other skills. And essentially when you do that, you're borrowing the traits of other soul types. And so you yourself may be a learning soul, but you may find because of your job that you need to start to borrow traits from the expressive soul type or the optimizing soul type. So you'll start to notice those traits in yourself, but those are learned traits. So when you hear these different styles, you say, oh, that's a little bit like me. And yeah, it probably is. And most people will adapt with at least one, maybe 2 other soul types is what I usually will see. But there's one that's your native type. And what's so important to know about it is that native soul type is the one that brings your natural gifts. It's the natural water you're most comfortable swimming in. And if you don't have a life where you're able to really express those gifts, it can leave you feeling really unfulfilled. Right. So for example, I know a woman who she's an expressive soul, and expressive soul is all about the voices. They are the ones that speak our truth. And she was in a role as a therapist working in an office where she was never allowed to say her opinion. And she was miserable, right? Great work, but absolutely miserable. And it was because she wasn't expressing that inherent gift that she's here to give. So she moved, and she's now in her own office, and she's a very opinionated therapist. Yeah, she's much happier.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, again, as you say, once people find out what they resonate with, which one they are, like as you say, that's a perfect example. Yeah. I'm just thinking for myself there. Then what is the gifts of what did we say it was? God, my memory is terrible. Learning soul. I was just about to say. I was like, that's not the one, is it? Yeah, the learning soul. Yeah. Because I was actually thinking about doing something quite different soon and getting into more public speaking as well, sort of spiritual motivational type of speaking, because that's kind of been my passion, to be honest with you, sort of helping people, but from a spiritual perspective.
Yes. Yeah. So what I would say is if you wanted to do that, the trick would be to bring in the gifts of your particular soul type. So if you were to identify with another motivational speaker, spiritual speaker, it would be through the structure of your presentation, through looking at how can you take abstract or complex ideas and bring them into this plane in a way that people can really grasp them, because that logical analysis is your gift. So it's going to be in how do you take the abstraction and make it concrete for people. And that's going to be something that you do better than other people. So there's going to be other speakers out there, other soul types who are going to be more fire and brimstone, more just raw energy. That's a different soul type. And you can learn those skills, but your native skills are going to be bringing in that ability to think. Like, you are the thinker. So it is that taking these, what you've learned, which are in the spiritual world, it is so abstract. How do you break it down and create structure out of it so that everyone else can understand what you know?
Perfect. Yeah, no, I get you. Yep. Thank you very much for that, by the way, as well. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
And again, we've got to love our decisions. I don't know if I mentioned that, but you mentioned it in the book. It's loving your decision. And is that, I guess we've spoken about that in a sense where I did say to you, didn't I, that, if whatever you're drawn to do, whatever that decision is, or purpose, or whatever it is that you want to do, there's got to be that love there for it, hasn't there? And I've experienced that recently, and I know what that now feels like. And if you don't love your decision, it's not going to work, is it? Absolutely.
It's so true. And the difference is, it's really interesting, is that I think a lot of people think that that what's going to make the difference about whether they love their decision or don't, it's that idea that they get really hung up on making the right choice, which is terrible, because when you don't love your choice, it ends up being a process of self-criticism. If you think I wasn't smart enough or careful enough or thoughtful enough, I picked the wrong thing because I don't love my choice, there's something wrong with me. And that's not the case. It is because of how you chose it. And what ends up happening is there's a critical switch that gets flipped when you make a choice. And it happens around this process of, most of us come into a decision thinking that the moment of decision happens in an instant, that the decision is the whole process that leads up to the moment of choice. So we think about it, well, I'm going to analyze these different options, and then I'm going to pick, and boom, my decision is done. And what's confusing about that is that's only 1/3 of the decision equation. That's the pre-decision moment, right? Is that process of analysis and thinking through things. That's one phase of the decision. The middle process of the decision and then the end process are almost more important to whether or not you're happy with your choice. So once you choose something, it's not just handing over your credit card or turning left instead of right. That feels like you've made a choice. But what's really critical is that someone has to give up all their alternatives and burn all their bridges. And these are two steps that a lot of people don't take. Is they'll make a choice, they'll go and they'll buy a new dress. You won't. They'll buy a new pair of pants, and then they'll bring it home, and they'll leave the tags on. And they'll think, well, I might not want it, so I'm going to leave the tags on, and I'm going to decide if I want it later, and I can take it back. Well, they haven't really chosen that. And they're leaving themselves open to continue thinking about the decision. The longer you leave that decision open, the more available you are to doubt, because you're continuing to stay in that comparison mode. So think about this, is that say that you've bought this pair of pants and they're at home in your closet, and every time you go out and you've left the tags on, you see all these other pairs of pants, and you say, well, is this one better or is the other one better? Now, every time you go back to that original choice, you're going to think about the benefits of the original choice, right? And you're going to compare those benefits to the new thing. But every time you look at it, that's an emotional assessment. Is it better or worse? That's an emotional assessment. And it's going to be like hearing a joke. Well, how funny is a joke the third time you've heard it? Right? You start getting tired of it. So you're going to look at the original one and the things that you loved about it originally. As long as you stay in this comparison mode, you're going to compare them over and over again, and you start to fall out of love with the thing you picked. If you ever felt any love for it, you start to diminish the value of the things that you originally valued, because they just get stale. So you, by leaving the tags on, essentially, by leaving that decision open, you're opening yourself up to doubt.
Well, then, could we reverse this and say, I don't know if you teach this in your process, but what about writing it down and committing it to a bit of paper?
It's really about, it's not so much forgetting, it's about how does it affect you emotionally.
Right, which is what we said
it's just
earlier.
like a joke.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so it's about how you feel about it.
Okay.
So the trick is, though, if you do commit, if you do truly burn all your bridges, so you take the tags off, you burn your little black book, you do whatever it is to really commit yourself, and you and then you fully commit, and burning your bridges does mean there's no plan B in your pocket. Once that happens, you're truly committed to your choice. It switches a little aspect of your brain I call your difference engine, that piece of you that's constantly comparing better or worse, right? Where you're always holding up everything you own and comparing it, or everything that you are, or everything that you do, and comparing it to everybody else around you. That's your difference engine at work, better or worse, right? Is this better, or is that, should I want that, or should I want what I have? Once you make this choice, the true decision, you've given up your bridges, burning your alternatives, all of a sudden that changes. And that same little thought process switches. Instead of comparing better or worse, it now starts asking you what is better about the one that you have. And that's what falling in love with your decisions feel like. You take the thing that you've chosen and you hold it up and you say, this is better in what ways?
So if we were to put that to something we want to attract in our life, maybe it's whatever it may be, a holiday or financial or whatever, an experience somewhere else, whatever it may be, right? By letting go of it, that's what I'm saying here. Letting go, you know what you want, just let go and just let that happen. So what would you say to that? Would you say can you go there in the sense of letting go?
Yeah, absolutely. Is that letting go is that moment of decision where you have burned your bridges and given up your alternatives. Essentially, if you are stopping that feeling of control where you feel like you have to hang on tight and manipulate the situation, you're instead letting go and saying, I'm going to allow this to happen. That's it. Then it's the same thing as it allows you to move on from the decision and then to embrace what happens. So it is normally in a decision process, people feel like they have to, that when you're taking the burden of action on yourself, I have to do this, I have to make the right decision, I have to be clever about this. And a lot of that is, think about in any kind of a relationship where you're kind of half leaning out, just in case this doesn't work, I'm going to hang on to my little black book, or I'm going to have a prenuptial agreement, or I'm going to protect myself in some way, right? You're holding on really tight to that decision. And instead, if you just say, no, I'm choosing it, and I'm just going to allow, I'm going to let it happen, and I'm going to stop trying to manipulate or organize or create, I'm just going to let it happen, then that allows your essentially what happens is as it, and you're saying if you do this before it's happened, before you've chosen it, or after you've chosen it, because it's slightly different.
Once you've chosen it, then let go.
Then you release, and then you allow. So then what happens is as it comes to you, you are able to see its strengths more clearly. You're able to focus, and not only that, but new strengths will be revealed to you, because there's actually a part of your brain that starts to focus and to see only confirming information. It's called selective update. And it takes the thing that you're focused on, the thing that you've chosen, and it brings all the positive information about that thing and brings it to the surface. And anything negative, because there's negatives about everything, anything negative, it pushes it away, so you literally won't hear it. It just doesn't soak in. So think about like after you've bought a car, all right? If you've purchased a car and before that you never really thought about it before, but once you're driving down the road in that car, you start to notice all the other cars on the road that are the same as yours. And you've never noticed it before, but all of a sudden, or same thing with a pair of shoes, you start noticing when, oh my gosh, that other person has the same shoes as me. And you'll start noticing, oh wow, these shoes also go with this other outfit, or oh wow, my car also has this great sunroof that I like. You'll start noticing new features, new benefits that you weren't aware of before. And that's that part of that's your difference engine in action, telling you what is better about the thing that you chose and helping you to fall more in love with it. And then another important thing happens. Once you're doing this, then you start to invest yourself emotionally in the thing that you chose. So it's like you're putting a little piece of yourself into the thing that you chose. And that's the two-step thing that allowing yourself to the flipping of your difference engine and then the emotional investment, that is the feeling of falling in love.
Yeah, absolutely. But some people watching this may be like, well, how the hell can I let go of it? I want it so much. If I let go of it, I'm not going to bring it to me. But actually, I think as the relationship example I gave, as we all know, that when you go too hard on someone, you just push them away anyway. So that's the law of attraction in progress anyway, if you wanted to look at it like that. And that's the same with anything. Yeah, I don't know why that is like that, but that's the experience that I've had, with manifestation just recently. Let go and let God in a sense.
For sure. Do you know what I would say is that we were talking about how powerful your thoughts are and how thoughts become things. And that once you've chosen something, if you're continuing to worry about it, if you're continuing to try to make it happen, trying to make it happen is a form of worry. Right. And every time you're worrying, you're taking 2 steps forward and 3 steps back.
And it's that worrying energy
right?
that's pushing it away from you, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're
exactly
saying
right.
on one side you're saying this is what I really want, and at the same time, what you're putting out to the universe is I don't believe I can have this. I'm worried it will never happen, and that's what the universe is giving back to you. Well, here's the experience of worrying that you'll never have it.
Yes, exactly. And it's like an energy leak. It's like you've got some of your energy is going towards the thing that you want, but then you have other energy going over here saying, well, I won't get it unless, or it's not going to happen if I've got to change this one thing because otherwise it's not going to happen. So all this not going to happen is coming out. And then you might even have this third thought, which is, oh, I better protect myself in case it doesn't happen. And all of those are energy leaks that are pulling away from the one thing that you really want.
What about envisaging a future, actually tuning into your future self, where you see in your head your future self with that which you want to have, you see yourself already having it, and you put those thoughts out maybe a couple of times, maybe not in a day, but I mean, at least as part of this process, to see yourself, or you see your future self already with it, and you get to also feel what it would feel like as well. Does it feel as desirable as you still thought it was going to feel? Is this really? Do you know what I mean? Our imagination is so powerful that everything's. If you think about everything that's around us, right? Everything was created by someone's thought. So if we can think of what it would feel like to have, I think that imagination is as strong as part of the process as actually anything that we've mentioned as well.
Oh, for sure. And the key there, I believe, is the emotions of it. It's one thing to see it, but
Absolutely.
The key to really manifesting it is allowing yourself to feel it and putting yourself in that future space where it's already happened and you're feeling the joy that you're going to feel. You're experiencing it as if it's now. And that is, I think that works great.
Yes, it really does. And again, I know you go through all this in the book in different ways. Your book is really kind of like the law of attraction in one sense, but it's not. It's done from your perspective, a different type and a different take on it, which is really, really nice, because I think it needs that sometimes. And it's not all about the money neither.
Right. Yeah.
I was watching something with Tony Robbins the other day about his take on law of attraction, and he really doesn't like it. He can't stand it. He really. There was a different take he had on it as well, which I can't remember what it was. But I think what it kind of came down to is that, you know what, go with what's right for you. If this way feels right, go with it. If it doesn't, then you're still on your process of searching. But there's a lot of I think what you're saying is it really is the fundamentals of this process, which is really important. Everything you've said is there, and yeah, I mean, what more can you be but honest about the process, which is exactly what you've been.
Well, I think it's interesting what you're saying about, looking at the concept of law of attraction and how it works. The method of what we're talking about in terms of visualizing is, anything that's going to get you, get all of your thoughts aligned and in one direction is going to be effective. And depending on your soul type, law of attraction is going to work better for some people than others. Some people need a more logical or analytical approach, or they want to feel more control, or there's some soul types that really resist that idea of fully committing, and they really want to have a plan B at all times. And that's actually their strength. So they've got that bird. It's a wonderful gift that they have, but it's also the thing they have in terms of manifesting. It's something they have to work with. So depending on your soul type, law of attraction is going to show up and be useful for you in a different way. So that's why I think it's so critical to understand how you think, right? How does your thought process unfold? Because it tells you, well, here's what's natural, here's my natural fit, and here's what's hard. And then here's where it's going to get in my way. And then, like I said, once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's always present for you.
Do you think that we get in the way a lot?
Oh, absolutely. We all do. We all do. Every single soul type. So for yourself, you would get in your own way by staying in that place of
Yeah,
observation, right? And staying too long and things passing you
yeah.
by. And for me, I'm a different soul type. So doubt affects me differently. I'm an optimizing soul type. And for me, I end up experiencing doubt after I've fallen in love with
Well,
something.
and I'm going to swear here as well. It's okay, but sometimes if we just take I had a guy, sorry, a lady that came up called Roxanne, that with her interviews on my channel, and it was quite interesting what she said. She said, "Have you ever considered just taking a don't give a fuck pill just for a week, right, and not
Right,
caring
right.
at all about nothing, and seeing what comes from that space, not trying to control it."
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I think when we don't try to control it and come from, because we're trying to be in control of something. Look, I believe the universe takes our order and it delivers it just like a restaurant. In a restaurant, you know that your delivery is going to come and you don't think about
Right.
it. You just know you're going to get what you've ordered, and letting it go from
Right.
that perspective as well. And yeah, I don't know what else I was going to say there, but yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're
yeah.
right.
But that's a hard place to come to for some people. But my advice and your advice to them would be give it a go. Go to your website, find out your process, just give it a go. And maybe, we're not clever enough, like Roxanne said to me in the interview, that we can be in control. Maybe whatever comes to us, when it comes to us, once we've given our order, is what's best for us. That doesn't mean we can't give the order back to the restaurant and say, well, this food's not good enough, I wanted this, right? But what's come to us is
Right.
perfect as well, in a different way.
That's true. I mean, it is a reflection of where we're at. So I think if what's coming to you is not exactly what you wanted, it's also a gift because it's showing you your junk, right? It's showing you where you are blocked. It's showing you where maybe you have beliefs or you have some thought processes that aren't serving you. So it's all useful. It's either going to bring you great things or it's going to bring you, help you to understand where you're at and where you need
Now,
to
I know
grow.
you've not got long left, literally minutes we've got left right now, because we're well over time and we're late doing this interview, so thank you for bearing with us. It's been a very important interview for a lot of people and myself, right? Are we forgetting something in this interview that, we're trying to get to somewhere to be happier? What the
Right.
hell happened about the present moment right now? Isn't that where we're supposed to be
Right.
happy? If we can't be happy right now, well, what's going to be happy when we get that partner? What's going to be happy when we have manifested that money? What about now?
Right. Yeah, and I think it's a great point. And I think the idea, actually I saw this wonderful video that a friend sent me just the other day about this idea of life is not a journey and that it's instead like a piece of music. And I love that it said, well, if the point of a piece of music was to get to the end, then the most famous conductor on earth would be the one that played one note and was finished. And that life is much more like it's the enjoyment of the process, right? And I think part of that to me and part of the joy of this whole experience of being alive is the learning that I do, is that understanding of with the feeling of growing, right, of becoming more of who I am and more of my real self. And that's really what led me to write this book, is that I feel like for me, this learning, this understanding has given me such a huge insight into how I am, how I behave, the whole idea of just essentially how do I create in the world. But then it's also opened up for me. I tell you, I can't go into a party and not all of this stuff is top of mind because I meet people and within minutes I know their soul type, and it opens up this huge amount of information for me about what they want to create in their lives, what's important to them, how they think, who they get along with. It's been amazing. So it's to me that's a huge part of the journey of the process, is that learning.
And what would you say is the most important message of your work?
Oh, there's two pieces to that, because there's what is the most important message of my own personal, what I'm teaching. And then there's this other piece of me, which is what I'm trying to facilitate for other people. And that's wisdom soup. And that's, to me, in the long run, that's going to be more of my effort, is going to be this idea of trying to bring seekers or bring learners together, and also to bring teachers and to bring everyone together into this connection. through Wisdom Soup, but through what I've learned on my own, so far it has been, it's really been about understanding yourself, understanding these things that we don't see, that seem to be invisible to us, but can be so incredibly helpful. And what I love about it, it's that awareness it happens so quickly, and it's literally like when you understand a new word for something, or when you learn a new language where before it sounded like just noise, but all of a sudden you understand meaning from it. It becomes meaningful, and that's what draws me, what attracts me to doing the kind of work I've done so far. Is you're collecting amazing meaning where before there was just noise.
And your journey has only just begun. Well, Anne Tucker, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us today. And just before you go, your website is?
For the book and for the survey is undoubtedlyawesome.com. And then for the online social learning community is wisdomsoup.com.
Okay, well, we've been putting your book and your website throughout this interview on the screen periodically. So just, Anne, thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much. It's been a lot of fun.
Well, we've come to an end on today's show. Don't forget that you can listen and watch all our past interviews on the More Show's official YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for new daily shows. You may also find out more on all past and upcoming guests by going to themoreshow.com, and do like us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest updates. So until next time, be safe.